Hi, this is Carl the Cobra Frutch, and you're watching Lights Out.
This is Faisal Khan for Lights Out, proudly sponsored by Spartans Law. We're here at Bournemouth Beach. Delighted to be joined by Carl Greaves, ahead of Saturday night show at the Bournemouth International Centre. Carl, first of all, good afternoon. How you doing, mate?
Good man. Go okay, Faisal, are you?
I'm all right, mate. Thank you for asking. Looking rather dapper with the shorts and sunglasses on.
It's beautiful, isn't it, eh? What a place to be for a weigh-in. Unbelievable. Fantastic.
Yeah, I've been here for a couple of days now. The weather is probably the best it has been today out of all the days I've been here. So I think you've arrived just on time. But Carl, talk to us about the main event on Saturday night. A good 50-50 British domestic fight between Bournemouth's own Chris Billam-Smith and Isaac Chamberlain.
Great fight. Very good fight. These are the fights we want, especially for top of the bill, live on Sky Sports. And for this setup and the occasion, it's all made for a fantastic fight and great 50-50 fight, I think.
Who's your money on, Carl?
You've got to go with Billam-Smith. Obviously, he's got good momentum. He's been in some big fights lately. He's flying high, and it's his own turf. Everybody's going to be behind him. But Isaac Chamberlain's a very good fighter. He hasn't been as active, obviously, as Billam-Smith, but he's been looking very good at the level he's been fighting at. Can he step back up to this level and beat Billam-Smith? We don't know, but it's definitely a live fight and a great fight, and you can't write Chamberlain off. Definitely, I mean, he's definitely in with a shout.
Yeah, definitely makes for an exciting fight, and also featuring on the bill making his pro debut is Benn, Olympic silver medalist, trained by Sugar Hill Stewart, a trainer just like yourself who's got a very good reputation in boxing. You excited to see Benn make his pro debut?
Yeah, what a talent, eh? Great that he's on Sky Sports as well. Olympic silver medalist, fantastic talent, great skills, very flamboyant, good character. Got it all there, got the makings to be a great fighter, but professional boxing, amateur boxing is a very different game. Obviously, you have to adapt your style in the pro game. It's a bit longer round, it's longer rounds, and it's a lot more grueling and tougher. And as he steps up through the levels, he'll find that. He's got a live opponent in Greg O'Neill. He's not coming to roll over. I think he's got a 50-50 record himself, so it's not an easy debut. But I'm sure he'll look fantastic and rise to the occasion and go on to do big things in boxing.
Nonetheless, hopefully it's going to be a successful debut. Really looking forward to seeing him out in the ring. Carl, just want to get your thoughts on the rumour that we could be set for another British domestic clash, a fight that I personally thought we'd never seen between Conor Benn and Chris Eubank Jr. Rumours are that fight will take place on October 8th, perhaps at the O2 Arena. Just get your thoughts on that fight, Carl.
It's a strange one. I mean, obviously, Conor Benn's probably looking at it like he's got nothing to lose. If he gets beat, he's going to say he got beat by the bigger man in Eubank. I'm hearing there's still a lot of things to sort out before that fight is signed and sealed. It's still not a done deal, so I don't know where we're at with it at the moment. But I'm hearing there's a long way to go before it's a signed deal and the fight's going to be happening. But Conor will be looking at it like he's got nothing to lose. If he gets beat, he can say he got beat by the bigger man and come back down to welterweight and try and establish himself there again. Eubank's the one who's got it all to lose. I mean, he's like you say, he's the bigger man. He's going to be a big favourite in my opinion. But boiling down to the catch weight of what they're saying is 156, 11 stone 2. I think it's going to be that might take it out of Eubank. So I don't think he'll probably personally take the fight at that weight. I think if he takes the fight, he'll be at 158, 156, 157, something like that. But I think he's got it all to lose, Eubank. It's a fight that he don't really need, in my opinion. I think he wins the fight pretty convincingly. I think they're both very talented, both got good pedigree. Obviously, the dads are selling the fight for him as well. But I think what it will boil down to who's got the better chin, and I think Eubank's got a solid chin, and Conor's still a bit suspect around the whiskers, in my opinion.
Because obviously you just mentioned that the dads are selling the fight, you know, there's a lot of history with the old man's. Had two phenomenal fights in the 90s, you know, any boxing fan. Listen, if you haven't seen those fights and you're not a boxing fan, then you really are missing out. There's still fights that I watch till today. I'm pretty sure you look back on those fights and still watch them today. But no, listen, I mean, when I speak to people about Conor Benn, a lot of people say, oh, well, he hasn't won a British title. There's still a lot of fighters at British domestic level, i.e. McKinson, you know, even Josh Kelly, you know, they talk about the David Avanesyan fight as well. If this was you if you was in Connor's corner right now, what advice would you be giving to him? Are you all for going the British route before making that step up to fighting, the world class operators such as the Eubank Jr.?
They're doing a fantastic job with Connor. I mean, you look, since he got dropped a couple of times by the Frenchman, they've been putting him in with all non-punchers really. Guys that's been good fighters in the day, got good pedigree, been at the top level back in the day but on the slide, and he's been getting them at the right time. So I think what he'll find is if he does stay at welter and go to the elite level, the level he's been fighting at to the level he's going to be going at to try and get a world title, there's a big gap. So I think he needs a really hard grueling fight against a kid that can punch a bit. If he passes that with flying colours, then we can all say, yeah, you're ready for the elite. So, I mean, like I say, I've got David Avanesyan. That's the sort of fights he should be looking at, really, because David's a solid fighter. He's on the fringe of world level himself. So if Conor wants to get to that level, he's got to be beating the likes of David Avanesyan. We're not really interested in the fight. I mean, if the fight happens, great. I think it's a big fight, but that's the sort of fights that Conor should be looking at, not kids that can't punch, who's passed a sell-by date, who's been a good name in the past. He should be looking at getting some kid that's still flying high and on the fringe of world level himself, and he becomes past that, then he say he's ready for the world elite.
So the million-dollar question is why hasn't a fight between David Avanesyan and Conor Benn been able to be made? Obviously, David Avanesyan is currently the European welterweight champion. I should expect that he will probably fight the winner of Crawford Spence if that fight does happen. If it doesn't, I know Avanesyan's in a good position for Terence Crawford's WBO belt. What can you tell us about why that fight between Benn and Avanesyan hasn't been able to be made, and what do you expect Avanesyan's next move to be made?
I don't think they've ever fancied the fight. I just think that Tony Sims and Eddie Hearn are very clever people, and they're looking at somebody like David Avanesyan and seeing it a very, very high risk. And they're saying low reward, but it's not low reward because David's a big name now. He's up there in the top three.
And he's European champion.
Yeah, and he's European champion. And I mean, listen, if Conor Benn can beat David Avanesyan, he'll get a lot of respect and credit. But I think deep down they know that Conor can't beat David, or they know it's a very, very risky fight, and they probably don't want to give David the opportunity to derail another one of their golden boys like they did Josh Kelly. I don't know, but in my opinion, David's in a fantastic position. I mean, he's number 2 by the WBC. Obviously, he got ordered for the Virgil Ortiz fight. I can't go into why that fight never happened. But we're going to be defending the European title against mandatory challengers soon, and then hopefully get the final eliminator for the WBC world title sorted out, and we win that, and we're in the position to fight the winner, like you say, Crawford and Spence. But in the moment, we're just waiting to get David back, and then obviously get ready for camp to get this European title defence sorted out. Because
we're still waiting for an announcement of Crawford and Spence, and listen, we've waited many years, so hopefully it might be more than one good fight that we get between those two. So would you perhaps be open to the winner of Virgil Ortiz versus Michael McKinson? Yeah, I think we've got to fight Virgil Ortiz because he's WBC number 1, we're WBC number 2. So I think McKinson and Ortiz isn't a world title eliminator or a final eliminator. It's just a ranking fight, from what I can gather. So I think it's still on the radar. I think Virgil Ortiz will be David's next fight after this European title. Okay, final one before I let you go, Carl. I know we've spoken about it a few times. Joshua Usyk 2, 3 weeks away. Has your prediction changed? Are you still going by your guns, and do you still think Anthony Joshua might not come out on top against Alexander Usyk? Like I said before, unless Joshua changes his game plan and then fights the perfect fight, I just don't feel he's got the skills and attributes to be... well, he's got the attributes by using his physical advantages, using his brute force and power. But is that going to be good enough against someone as clever and as skillful as Usyk? I just don't think so. I think Usyk's got his number. I think the first fight, he won pretty convincingly. Joshua had his moments, but unless Joshua changed his game plan considerably, I still think that Usyk will come out on top. Okay, Carl Greaves, a pleasure as always. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for talking to us. And we look forward to catching up with you at some point during the rest of the week. Top man, thanks a lot, mate.